This is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and this is the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Oh my God, 15th iPhone, right? How much can change? You know, simultaneously, not a lot, but actually kind of a lot by today's smartphone standards, which means it's a tech space that is so evolved that the changes are not the leaps and bounds they were, like from the iPhone original to the iPhone 3, or likewise with any variety of Android phones. But Apple's done a couple of things here that are certainly worth talking about, which we are going to do now. So first up, the casing material. As you no doubt know by now, titanium, available in 4 sort of muted colors, including a natural titanium, which looks very nice. The natural titanium may not have a coating on it, the others do to protect it. But anyway, it's lighter. And the thing that I've complained about, and a lot of people have complained about with the iPhone Pro models, even the smaller one, but particularly a large one, is how heavy they are. Sure, stainless steel is quality, it's nice, it's posh, but oh my God, you know, I actually ended up wearing a hand brace for a while because of heavy phones. It's not the only one that's guilty of that. The Galaxy S23 Ultra is also a very heavy phone. Some of the bigger foldable phones are, but it's a welcome change that drops 19 grams, not quite an ounce, but as a significant percentage of the overall phone's weight. I can feel the difference. I don't feel like I need a hand brace anymore, so yay. And now, it's fall, isn't it? And it's that time, you know, a lot of new phones are coming out. You're getting new PCs from kids back to school, yourself back to work, and you got to remember to keep them protected. And that brings in our video sponsor, trendmicro Premium Security Suite. You get 10 devices covered with 1 license, and you don't just get antivirus protection. It's a whole bunch of things in one that are useful, so you don't have to buy all these different apps, right? So you've got a password manager, you have a website security checker, you have fraud buster for rogue SMSs, you actually have pay guard protection as well. So if you're going to use your credit card online, you know the spiel, that sort of thing. There's also a VPN that's available too, so you can choose what country you're using it from too. If you're like me, well, you know, you tend to like to use the BBC, if you know what I mean, and you can do that using a VPN, but there's legitimate reasons. Insecure Wi-Fi checker, yes, it has that, and that's when you know you need to use the VPN. It can turn that on automatically too. So be sure to get Premium Security Suite and use my link in the description to save. And now, back to our video. All right, so titanium is nice because it's lighter. Also, it's a very durable material, and supposedly Apple says they're using grade 5, which is the best grade. It's just the exterior areas. The internal frame is still, I believe, recycled aluminum on it, but it looks really nice. And the frame, when you hold it, if you're actually not using a case, like I know most of you do use a case, you might see some discoloration, but it cleans off, just a damp cloth, so it's nothing permanent. Don't worry about that. So it's nice looking. It's even more posh and high-end than stainless steel is, and I think it was the right move from Apple, as was ever so slightly reducing the sharpness of the edges. That's the other thing with the Pro model iPhones. They're sharp in the hand, and it's just subtle, just a little bit of sort of chamfering, whatever they did there, and no more digging into your hand kind of feeling, which is nice. And another thing they did is they made it easier to replace the back glass, and a lot cheaper. Instead of like $500, it's like $100 or something like that. So that's also a good thing. The drawback is, as we've seen from a few durability videos, is because there's not massive adhesive behind the entire glass back. If you watch Jerry Rig Everything, he puts his thumbs really hard to try to bend the phone and snap it. There's a hollow behind the glass, so it may be more susceptible to smash breaking. If you're wearing a case, I don't think it's something to worry about, but it's the trade-off between a lot easier and cheaper to fix or not. There's that. The display is brighter than ever. I mean, I don't know. I've lived in Texas and California where the sun is so strong, and I've never had trouble seeing an iPhone outdoors as it is, but it can get even brighter in max auto brightness. And the bezels are ever so slightly even smaller. They're quite small at this point, honestly, so that allows them to reduce the frame size ever so slightly. It's not significant. I wouldn't even think about that much, but pretty much the same nice OLED display they've always had. Resolution is unchanged. Screen sizes at 6.7 inches for the Pro Max, 6.1 for the Pro. Still the same, still lovely. The other important thing is USB-C. Okay, the European Union kind of forced Apple to do that, so we wouldn't have to have so many cables of different sorts in landfill and all that sort of thing. So it's nice because if you already have an iPad or a MacBook, you already have a USB-C charger. Yes, you can use those chargers with the iPhone. They automatically adjust to the proper voltage and all that sort of thing. But also your friend has an Android phone. You want to borrow the charger. Yes, you can do that. You can even reverse wire charge something. So if you need to charge your AirPods or something like that, you can do that. There's still no reverse wireless charging, unlike Samsung Galaxy phones. So it's nice, it's convenient in that respect, but what's more important is the wide selection of things you can now use with your iPhone, which at first seems like, all right, who does these things? Okay, there's no Samsung DeX or something like that, desktop mode on it, but the first thing that I did was grab my Samsung T7 SSD, which uses a USB-C cable, held that to the back of my iPhone. You can get a MagSafe ring or something to make them adhesive to make it easier, and ran out there and recorded 4K 60 frames per second Apple ProRes video onto an SSD directly, so no filling up the iPhone storage. And all goes directly to the SSD, which makes it so much easier to bring it into Final Cut or Premiere, whatever you're using. That's nice because the quality of the videos, we know iPhones really do well with video quality. They're arguably the best still in the phone arena. And now you've got this ProRes. You can shoot it in HDR, SDR, or in Apple log format if you want, and you can bring it right into your editing. So that's really handy because you're out and about on the go. Sometimes you don't have a full-fledged fancy pants camera. Like we use fancy pants cameras here, but if we go out to a trade show or an event and we want to record something, that's pretty neat. And given the fact that ProRes is huge in terms of file size, I mean, the sample video that you watch was 6 gigs, so huge. You definitely want an SSD, and you don't want to be backing it up to iCloud or trying any other kind of transfer method. So USB-C rocks. Also USB hubs, if they're compatible with the Mac or with the iPad, they're going to work with your iPhone as well. So you want to plug in a couple of things, a SSD and a microphone, for example. Wow. This is getting pretty fancy. This is pretty neat. I like this a lot. One thing to note is apparently the braided USB-C cable that Apple gives you in the box is a 2.0 cable, not a 3.0. You want the faster cable to support USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 if you're using an SSD for something like ProRes. When it comes to the rest of the camera stuff, the main and the ultra-wide cameras, other than evolutionary improvements in software and little tweaks to hardware, aren't so different from the previous generation. But the telephoto lens now is optical 5x instead of 3x, which is 120 millimeter equivalent. So this depends on you and the things that you take pictures of, or video. For me, I really wanted 5x. I mean, I had that on my Galaxy phone. I have that even on my Pixel Fold, right? Why don't I have that on my iPhone? Only the Pro Max gets the 5x telephoto, by the way. There's still 3x for the Pro, not Max model. But anyway, it's great for me because I shoot a lot of landscapes. I like to shoot animals, be it my crazy cat or animals outside, and you can't get too close to them. So that extra zoom range is perfect. And it still works for portraits, you just don't get quite as close to your subject, your person you're taking a picture of. In terms of real-world photography, people use 90 millimeter for portraits and up to 120, so it's still in the permissible range of what professionals are used to using for portraits. But for some of you who just find 3x the sweet spot, you might not be so excited for this upgrade. So again, it depends on you, but I welcome it. And the quality of the 5x camera is very good. I was pretty impressed with it. It certainly compares well with the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Now, obviously, that phone has space zoom and 10x optical zoom, so there's a limit here to what the iPhone can do in terms of optical zooming. You can digital zoom out, but you know. But the good news is, even if you are digital zooming beyond 5x, so you go to 10x, the quality is going to improve because of it. Overall, nice. And the main camera now defaults to shooting pictures at 24 megapixel mode instead of 12, which means more data saved, a bit sharper picture. Again, that's nice. I mean, I've taken some really pretty pictures on my iPhone, and I thought, well, I'm going to print these up 8 by 10, nothing too huge, and put them on the wall. And then once you do that, you notice the dithering and the lack of actual detail. So anything that can help with that without having to resort to raw mode and a workflow that might be more than a lot of everyday users want to do, this is a nice improvement. As you've heard, the mute slider is gone from the side of the phone. It's been replaced by an action button that you press instead of slide. I'm fine with this. The default is still to mute the phone, but you can also have it to use the focus mode, which is a pretty handy thing. You can have it start the camera or do a voice memo, handy for a lot of people. Or thanks to Apple shortcuts, pretty much the world's your oyster. If you wanted to do something more complicated and advanced, like open your garage door, it can do that. So I think this was the right decision on Apple's part and is way more versatile. All right, pretty much everything else about the iPhone experience. iOS 17, of course, is available to older model iPhones too, so it's not really worth discussing that as a feature. It's not. Battery life is about the same in my experience compared to the 14 Pro, so no improvement, no real degradation. Depends on what you're doing with the phone and all that sort of thing, but so far that's what I've seen. And the Pro Max, still one of the big selling points is the longer battery life compared to the Pro, the 6.1-inch model, and that is still the case here. Wow, the stamina on the Pro Max is amazing. I've been getting like 7-8 hours of screen on time on a worser day, and sometimes long, which is dream territory for most Android phones. I don't know how Apple does it. Well, I do actually. You know, they have their own secret sauce because they make the CPU and they make the operating system, and you have the latest Apple CPU inside. And that new CPU this time is called the A17 Pro. No more Bionic. Why Pro? They had even more GPU cores. They demonstrated it playing like actual AAA game titles, not mobile titles. So Resident Evil Village, that sort of thing. I'm into that. Now, I don't know if I would want to play those on this small screen when they make an iPad like that or a Mac. I'd be even more excited, but still, playing actual, seriously, graphically demanding games on your iPhone is wicked. So that's another reasonably significant improvement for those of you who play games. Now, obviously, the leaps between generations are not exactly leaps anymore. There's steps going up. So if you have the 14 Pro Max model, you're probably not going to want to upgrade. But again, the upgrade cycle for most people is 3 years these days, sometimes 4, even 2. And that's when you start to say, oh, this stuff is pretty nice. This is a more meaningful improvement. And that's going to be the case again here. I mean, if you want to upgrade from a 14 because you also want to do a size change or whatever else, I totally get that. But there's nothing that says, gee, you really must do that this year, unless you're that in love with USB-C and titanium. Oh, by the way, Apple killed leather cases now, which is environmentally friendly and animal friendly. I love animals, that's nice. But they replaced it instead of with, there are many synthetic leathers out there that look quite nice, but they decided to go and make it really obvious, and they have their fine woven case, which is nasty business. It just scuffs up, scratches up, gets dirty. Don't buy that. Buy the Apple silicone case, buy a third-party case, anything like that. Don't bother with the fine woven. All right, that's it. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.